Hello again, everybody. It's Harry Boxer, the Technical Trader at thetechtrader.com. It is Thursday night, the 15th of December, and these are the charts of the day. Well, the market had a weird day. It was up in the morning, down in the afternoon. It closed up on a day, but didn't feel very good. A lot of stocks we followed did okay. Some of them did great, but some of them were disappointingly gave back a chunk of what they had gained earlier in the day. But let's take a look at some longs and shorts today. And in particular, AMAT, the semiconductors in general, looking very good. Before we get into that, I just want to show you the SMH, because for me, today was a key day as it broke out of this trading range above the three tops created last week and early this week, and closed at 73.02, above 73 for the first time, I think, in a long, well, let's see, how many years has it been? All the way back to 2000, so it's a 16-year high, and there is some resistance. I had put in around the 70 to 70 range. We actually closed above that today. I could see the stock making it all the way up to 78.80 zone at some point, but for now, I just want to show you that the SMH is powering to new highs with less than great technicals. But keeping that in mind, some of those components that we watch and are following and or swinging, like AMAT, looking pretty good today. AMAT broke out of a little wedge, popping 92 cents or a little bit less than 3%. It traded 11.7 million volumes, picking up as the best volume in about 6 days. But when you break out of a little wedge like that near the highs and start to move, we could very well see this quickly at 34, 4.5, but mid-channel target is closer to 35.5, 6. And then longer term, I think this is a $40 stock. Advanced Micro is another stock in that group, doing great, and it's a swing trade. It's just been phenomenal since it broke out here on the big breakaway gap in April when it was trading in the 2 3/4 range. And look at this now, almost 4 times your money, and it's still going. I have a target of 13 and then 16 eventually. AQMS popped out of the falling wedge. Now this is not a stock with a lot of volume, but I want to point the pattern out because after the 5-way move here, we had a collapse, as you remember. It based out for several months, and look at that rip from 8.5 to 14 for a new all-time high here. And then the falling wedge in a very orderly fashion on low volume. Now today, the pop of the volume wasn't big. I want to see an increase in volume going forward. Your resistance on this one is 12 3/4, and then we're looking at near 14 before we get to 16, 16.5, my swing trade target. And there is 5 1/4 days to cover short. AQXP is moving again. Some of you remember the big explosive move it had a year and a half ago, and then it came down for quite a long time before breaking back out in July. After double bottoming in a 6, 6.5 range, it ran all the way up to 15 and change, pulled back sharply, and then popped again. Now, what really intrigued me about the pattern short term was this little wedge it formed. Notice how the consolidation came on low volume, and when it popped 3 days in a row, the volume has picked up dramatically. Today was a big day, up 229 or almost 15%. The volume was the biggest in about 3 months. So I'm expecting us to test 19 and maybe even get to 22, 23 zone. Eventually, possibly a test of, let's call it, 24 would be a target for me. So 19 and 24, 20 and 24, something like that. 13.5 days to cover, a very big short position. This could get a squeeze. ATSG, I like the way this is looking a lot. And if you take a look at the pattern today coming out of a wedge, I put a swing on it. I think the stock has room to go up towards 19. Nearly 3 days to cover short. Looking at the long-term pattern, you'll see highest level ever reached, and then rising channel, the top of that channel coming in just under 20. So that 19-20 range is a very distinct possibility short term. Keep an eye on this one. CoLucid, one of our favorite swings, popped back 2 or 5.7% today as volume picked up to the best volume in about 4 weeks. It seems to me it may be coming out of what looks like potentially a falling wedge here. And if it does extend, we'll be looking to see if in the next day or 2 or 3, this can get to 41. If it does, I strongly believe we can see a run to the high 40s, maybe 50. Great looking chart. And how about that CWEI? It just doesn't quit, does it? We had a pretty steep pullback when oil pulled back, but then it popped again. We have double top or resistance at around 117. We have support around 90. Today jumped from 98 to 110 and closed at 107.76, up 758. I think it's ready to make an assault on that and maybe make a run to 140.50. I truly believe the stock has the guts to do that. 4 days to cover short. Now, I'm going to go over one shipper and one shipper only. And the reason is because dry ships today traded 39 million shares. Yeah, that's right, the biggest volume ever in its history as it exploded from 377 to 544 and closed at 540. Now after hours it's even a little higher, I believe. It did get up to about 555, it's back to 540. Nevertheless, I think if the shippers follow through, when you get a big volume like that, you may get a second day through. Look for 640, which is the last peak. And should it blow through that, it's possible we could see $8 or $9. I wouldn't bet the farm on it, but with that kind of volume and the way it closed today near the high for the day, I'd have to give this at least a chance to make an additional upside move. Well, how about that dust in JDST? Look at this move. Just in the last 2 days, it's gone from 48 3/4 to 71.5 nearly today. Now that level reached the top of the channel if you connect all these tops, and it did pull back, but I don't see a lot of give up on this. And perhaps we're going to see a pullback and a consolidation here because it's so extended short term, but look where it blew through. And there's a gap in here that could get this, if it fills it, up near 80. So let's keep a close tab on this one, because if gold extends a little bit further down, we may see dust pop near 80 and JDST get up near 60. These are very strong base breakout platforms or consolidation wedges, and strong breakouts on big volume with breakaway gaps today. I think the JDST is going to have a tough time getting to 60, 62.5, something like that. But that would be a potential target. Now, on the other side of the coin is the JNUG and Nugget, and they have just gotten decimated. But take a look at where they are in the pattern right here. The JNUG is at the bottom of the channel, the big one. And I mean on big volume, 61 million shares, second biggest volume ever on a down move. Now, the last time it got smacked, if you remember, and I put a swing on it, it bounced smartly from 6 to 864. And the time before that, when we put on a big volume sell-off, when we put it in around the 9.5 range, it got back within a week to 1382. So at this point, I'm thinking about the possibilities that although it may get a little bit lower, the possibilities are we could see it at 4. I don't think there's too much downside left before we get a decent snapback, and it may be as much as 50% towards the 6.5 range on JNUG. Now on Nugget, the same kind of thing is in play, as it got down today to the bottom of the channel at about the 5.5 range, hit tagging 555. If you remember, when it broke here, I said this could go to 5.5, and sure enough, it did exactly that. 107 million shares, the biggest volume ever traded in the stock, after having come down from 33 to 5.5, with multiple waves down of 7 waves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm thinking this is exhausted, and that's a selling climax, much like it was in here when the stock had a big rebound. Now, I'm not saying it's going to take off and be 10 or 12, but I do think possibilities will move back towards 7 very quickly could occur. So that covers the gold. EGHT. Now, I think I'm a little bit premature. The stock exploded. It got up to 1570, but back all the way to 1505. That's disappointing. And you can see that 1570 is right in the resistance zone up here. So until it actually gets through the 1570-90 zone and makes it to 17 and then 19, which are my targets, there's still a possibility that we don't get a follow through. Now, sometimes I'll see the big pop, and volume is decent, 1.3 million, and then it pulls back, and the next day follows through and moves right back up again. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Let's see if it fills the gap first. 1450 is now support. IONS, this biotech firm is having a good time. After breaking the declining tops line with a breakaway gap and a big surge, it's settled into a consolidation. But that consolidation looks like a wedge or even a little head and shoulders. Here's your left shoulder, head, and a mini right shoulder. Or it's a wedge pattern. Either way, it got very quiet here and popped out today. My targets are 59 and 65 going forward. How about the LABU? I got a feeling that next year is going to be a big year for biotechs. And after coming down in 5 waves, taking this damn thing from about 245 all the way down into the 19 range, from the July period to February, it's taken months to base out, almost all year. This explosive move off the November low post-election has then pulled back in a nice quiet consolidation, or should I say orderly, not quiet consolidation. And today, a little pop back up, the last couple sessions anyway. If I can get this above 37.8 range, I think the stock has a chance of making a big move into the low to mid 40s, if not higher. But for now, keep a close tab on the LABU. We'll probably be trading it. How about that NVDA? Another new all-time high today, almost 100, hit 99.94. And it popped a decent volume of 18.7 million. I fully believe we're going to see 105, 108 short term. And if it punches, we could even see 115.20, but Let's see what occurs on this one. Semiconductor Junior ON, having a good time of it today. It popped on 31 million shares. I've never seen that stock trade that other than this one time here. So at this point, I'm thinking it's probably going to test 13.5 and make it up to 14.5 short term. But I love the channel, the technicals, and the pattern. Pier 1 with an explosive, huge day today. As you know, the stock was in the mid-teens a year and a half ago. It dropped all the way down to 3 3/4. Retested it 8 months later, and then broke back out. The run-up took it up near resistance here. Double top, I should say. It backed off and then exploded. Notice that today's low is above the double top, so that's a breakaway day. With a volume of 27.5 million and a close decently up about 209, 32%. I'll take that as an explosive breakaway gap and a run-up that I think is going to take it to the next level. Pier 1 apparently may make it towards 11, my next target. Keep an eye on this one for momentum follow through. And speaking of momentum, REN, what a fantastic chart. One of my favorites of the year, having gone from 2 3/4 to 37. Yep, you heard me about 15-fold. And yet it still looks like it's moving further. As a matter of fact, today it broke out to new highs. I put a day trade on it. Only popped a point more than where I gave it to you. But look where it closed at the upper end of the range. I'm thinking we're looking at 42 and 48 going forward. If it starts to really run, you can see one of those 5-point up days like I had in here. And among all of the airlines, even though I like American, Delta, United, etc., and Southwest Alaska, SkyWest is the winner of the year. 13 to 39 and still going. This is a 200% gainer since February. And an all-time high, taking out a double top here just recently. So for me, this has got some room to run. Although the top of the channel's in that zone, we may get an acceleration to mid-high 40s. And finally, on the long side is Xilinx, yet another semiconductor with merger rumors flying on this one. Today it exploded for 345 or 6%, 7.8 million shares. That's the biggest volume since May when it popped here. I'm thinking there may be some resistance up here, but I do have a target around 63. Let's see what happens on that. Now, on the short side, a few of the boxes shorts that I want to have you check out. CAH, yeah, I mentioned it yesterday, has moved up in a 1, 2, 3 wave corrective move right to where the resistance is. So if it's going to fail, this would be an ideal place for it to back off of in here. I actually wanted it to hold there. It's already moved above that. I would do nothing with this stock because it was actually up today, but I would wait to see if it does roll over, take out say 70, because then we could really roll over in this one. DXCM is really poised to drop and drop hard. It's in a bear flag, in a very nasty looking trend with ugly technicals. Minimum target is 59.60, but I believe the stock can get down to the low 50s, if not 50 itself. Express Scripts is under a lot of pressure pricing wise, and I think this is going to have a hard time right here. I'm looking for a retest of 65.6, but we get below that, I'm looking at 60. LGI Homes starting to really fall hard, dropped another 88 cents or 3%, but you can see how the wedge that I drawn in, or flag, whatever you want to call it, broke, and it's breaking further. And I would estimate we're going to go down and test this zone near 25. LSI, also in a strong downtrend with a 3-wave corrective bear rising wedge, began to roll over and dropped to $1.41 today. Looks to me like it's headed, well, at least to 75 for lateral resistance, but if this does what I think it can do, we could see 70 or worse, even 64.5. MIK is a short I gave you back in August when it was trading in the 26 range. It subsequently dropped to 21. It's been down for 5 days in a row. It looks like it's headed lower. Look how ugly the volume is and the technicals on this one. I'll be real surprised if we don't see 1920 on this short term, if not much worse. NTES, NetEase, looks like it wants to fall. Bear wedge, bear flag, and down again today at 416. If it looks like 200 to 198 in that range would be an initial minimum target, followed by 185 and 165. Nevro down another $1.53 today, and after the little snapback following the pullback here, you can see that a micro bear wedge formed, and it's rolling over already. I would not be shocked to see this in the mid-60s short term. And lastly tonight is Proof Point, which after rolling over and forming a bear flag, came down and is forming another little micro flag. There's some support in here, but it just looks like another little mini flag is forming right there. See it? So I'm looking to hit the break 68 and drop hard into the low 60s, if not 58, 60 down here. And that's it for tonight, both the long and short of it. It's a tough market, very volatile, but the tech traders are hanging in there, making some good trades. And look, you're going to have your bad news, your biotech stocks, your secondaries and things of that nature that on occasion are going to hurt us, but you got to deal with it. That's just the way it works. This is HB out. Have a good evening, everybody.